Alright, salute guys. Let's talk about something today. I want to talk about banking abroad and what do you do? Because a lot of people don't really consider this like fully the extent of what to do about money and access to money until it's too late or too close to the time that they decide to leave. So if you decide to like move abroad or travel the world, if you want to say that, like abroad, you're going to be swiping your card all over the fucking world. So you don't think that there's going to be some type of hit on your account at some point, or somebody hacks some shit, or somebody steals something. You just never know. Plus, you want to have access by all means wherever the fuck you are. Think about this. If I'm in Thailand, I don't want to call my bank back here in the States to unlock my card in another country. If you really stop and think about that, come on, man, they're not going to do it. And you might be locked out of your card for weeks and screwed. So you need an account that's flexible, that travels with you. And I would recommend the one I've finally gotten approved, and it was a pain in the ass. I'm telling you, HSBC Expat Global Money Account, this was not easy. I had to send in all types of information. It took them almost a month to approve me for it. Basically an offshore bank account. A legit bank account where I can store US dollars, or I can transfer it or store it in several denominations simultaneously. Even like, say if I'm in Thailand and somebody wants to cash at me Thai baht, I can take boop 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 and switch it between that. And this is another thing I want to talk about. You need to have a buffer between your main bank with the bulk of your money and you. So if you're popping up all across the world, you're hitting different ATMs, you don't want to put your main bank account card in that ATM or swipe it at the 7-Eleven. You just never know. So what you want to do is you want to have a small account that you use for small bits here and there that you replenish from your main account. And with that said, I would recommend the Cash App. Everyone has Cash App now. It's very simple. You know how it goes. But you can actually get a Cash App card. And you can take this card, you can send $500 to the Cash App account, and then take this debit card and use it at ATMs. Use the debit card, not your main card. So you're putting a buffer between you and the bank with most of your money. But I will also say this, is that you want a bank that operates in several different nations. Even though, like right now I'm in Mexico, I have not seen one I've seen one US bank, and that was Citi. But it's called something else, but it's got the same symbol, like Citi. I don't want to say Citi Mexico, but it's something like, you could tell it's a Citibank subsidiary here. But like there's BBVA, there's Santander, there's Bano Norte. These are big banks here in Mexico. I don't see any of these US fucking banks. So you gotta be smart and put a buffer between your money and you, but also make sure that you have the flexibility you need to store money in different currency units. Meaning you can actually store money simultaneously in dollars, British pound, or euro, or Thai baht, whatever. I think for this account, for me, it's 16 different currencies I can use, including the Mexican peso, because these currencies fluctuate between each other. For example, here in Mexico, it's about $18.40, or 18.4 pesos for a dollar. So $1 gets you 18.4 pesos. But using these currency exchanges, which are everywhere for the record, like literally, they're all over the place. Like you walk in, you give them US dollars as cash, and they give you pesos. They're only paying you about 17.3, 17.5 if you're lucky, pesos for the dollar. Now, if you go to an ATM, which I did the other day, and swipe my US debit card, my Capital One card, I put it in there and withdrew money in pesos, they only gave me 16.4 pesos for the dollar, which is a huge chunk. So you got to understand that foreign transaction fees are a big part of this, and you need a bank that's flexible. You just do. You need a bank that you can call from wherever you are in the world of whatever reason, and you know that your shit's gonna be safe and you're gonna have access to it. So you need to consider an offshore bank account. You do. Honestly, I'm proud that I'm making this video because it took a ton of work and effort for me to figure this out. Because what happened was when I called my main bank here in this, well, back home in the States, Capital One, and they said if you're moving abroad, apparently I shouldn't have told them I was moving. Because once I told them I was moving abroad, they said that they can't do business legally with me as a forward, like you have to be like living in the States as a US citizen for a certain amount of time legally under the regulations. I didn't know that. Even though you could technically keep your mouth shut, you could technically use a VPN, which I would recommend using a VPN anyway. You just do. It's smart. That way you protect yourself from Wi-Fi thieves and shit like that. You just got to be careful, man. Put a buffer between your money and you. Put a buffer. Have your bank account, the bulk of your money in a bank account that's flexible globally with all kinds of different currencies and currency units that you can use. A bank account that allows you to move money into different money markets or create like CDs or whatever, interest-bearing types of things. You need this. It's important. And you want a buffer between that and you. You want something different for your day-to-day operations. Because if something happens, something goes wrong, you will get locked out of your money. And it's best that you're not swiping your main money card, if you will. Now, like I said, there's Cash App. There's a couple different ones. I've heard different other things like people say. So you don't want this expat global money account on your Apple Pay, dumbass. That's what I'm trying to say. You want there to be a buffer, but you want there to be the flexibility and portability because it's important. If you lose your debit card or if you get a fraudulent something comes up, you want to be able to call them and say, hey, I'm in Amsterdam and this is where I'm at, send it to me. And they're like, okay, verify it this way, because they know that you're a traveler. So if you think about this, if you're in that scenario trying to do this shit with an American bank, you're traveling all over the world. Listen, they get fraudulent shit all the time. I got hit a couple years ago with $850 from Beijing. Like $850 hit my bank account like that. I don't know who the fuck did it. None of us do. But I was actually locked out of my money for like 2 weeks. They eventually paid it back. It was fraudulent. But this is what I'm trying to say. You don't need these problems with the bulk of your money. You want to try to separate the bulk of your money with your medium-term money or your short-term money and you. It's very important to do this. It's very important to understand this. Also, I want to throw in as a disclaimer, consider where your mail gets sent. You're going to have mail piling up somewhere if you decide to leave. So what do? Some of you might have a spouse, some of you may have family, good for you. But that's a burden to put on someone, in my opinion. And some of us aren't afforded that luxury. Now, I know a few people I could ask, but I don't want to. So I will continue to figure this out, to look into this, because I've heard a few different options, like set up a mailbox at FedEx and then have them mail it to me wherever I am in the world once a month, which is going to cost a fortune most likely, just to have junk mail forwarded to me. Think about that for a minute. Just to have junk mail forwarded to me because of one or two good important documents that might be in that mail. So you got to think about these things. So I would encourage you, if you plan or intend to travel or go live abroad, open up a global money type global checking account, something that allows you to be the flexibility to hold different currencies, to hold certain amounts of money, to use transactions across the world, have zero exchange fees and things like that. You need this. It's important. I'm telling you, because you're going to pay out the ass trying to swipe your debit card here. Even though it works, yeah, how long does it work before it throws up a flag and they say, well, damn, because I've had several texts that come up on my phone. Did you authorize this charge? Yes. Okay, you can continue to use your debit card. You know, that's scary as fuck when you're outside of the country and you don't have, honestly, that's like cutting off your lifeline. So this is important. Have a global offshore bank. Look into this. I would recommend HSBC Expat bank account. Just Google that and see what it does. It's not easy. You're going to have to send in a ton of fucking documents and it's going to take them 3 weeks to a month to approve you. if they approve it. I had to send in pictures of my passport and everything. Like it was a pain in the ass, and it wouldn't work on my mobile phone. So I actually had to take my ass down to the library and send it through them because of, I guess there were certain things that wouldn't allow certain cookies on my phone. So it wouldn't work that way. I had to take my, like physically go down to the library and scan documents on several occasions. Like not just one day, probably 3 days. I went down there and had to send in different documents that they were requesting, but they finally approved it. So the good news is that's settled. It allows me to branch out in different ways, move my money more flexibly, money like money market accounts, to set up certain things to like interest bearing. It's just a lot of freedom and flexibility that you need as an expat traveler or someone who's relocating to another nation. You need a global money source or global bank. You need a bank that's global, not something that's local to where you are, to where you live. And I'm not just saying a bank that you see in other countries. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying a bank that's global, like HSBC. HSBC is a huge global bank. It's basically the middleman between us and all of Asia. Us and US and Asia. It's a big ass bank. You think too big to fail here? Shit, get out of here with that. Now anyway, I want to go ahead and cut it. I hope this helps. Think about it. Create this buffer, but have the flexibility so that you don't cut yourself off at the ankles if you decide to travel and something happens. But shit happens. Somebody can come by and hit you with a, they got these things that now can just steal your Apple Pay just by brushing up against you. You got to be careful. Use VPNs. Create a buffer between your main money. Don't have your main money account on your phone. This money account I'm talking about, do not do mobile banking with it. You understand me? Have most of it there and then have it like transfer bits and pieces into another account that you use in the short and medium term. It's important, imperative. Protect yourself. I love y'all and I'm out.